And Defence exhibition at the Waterkloof Airforce Base outside Pretoria, and it's been a feast for aviation enthusiasts who've enjoyed world-class air demos, aerobatic displays and parachute drops. Well, special focus this year on youth development programs to encourage interest in defence and aviation sectors or careers. Well, our reporter Patricia Visagie is covering the show.
We continue with our broadcast here at the AAD 2016, and we're speaking to Charlie Murray. He's the aviation safety specialist. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much for joining us. Of course, the air show had to be cancelled because of the safety risk that comes with the weather. Just take us through that.
Right, Patricia, first of all, you know, when it comes to safety, there's a couple of approaches to safety. The first one is that we must make sure that the public is safe from the aircraft side, that the guys flying the aircraft, that they're also safe. And it's a huge organization, so the weather plays a major role. All right, so obviously the committee that is working with the safety, they knew about the weather coming, and they already decided beforehand, you know, that there were going to be certain steps. So when the weather, you never know whether the weather is going to really be that bad and that low. So on a continual basis, the assessments were made, and from the pilot's point of view, seeing that they need to be safe, and that's for their own as well as for the public safety. And obviously nobody wants something out of the line. So to keep safety as paramount, the decision was then made to cancel, and I personally believe that was the right decision by Colonel Keith Fryer. He made the right decision.
And of course, that is based on the impact studies that you did before the show itself.
Yeah, look, internationally we are looking at shows from RASA, that's our Recreational Aviation Authority here in South Africa, as well as Airshow South Africa. We're studying all the air shows and air shows overseas, and we look at the weather phenomena, we look at the capabilities of the air crew, we look at the distances between the show lines and the people. So it's actually the impact studies, not just in terms of weather, but also in taking into consideration all the conditions. So today, everything was great except the weather turned. And it's one of those things. That's why we've got safety, to make those decisions, even if it turns out to be a little bit unpopular with some people.
And South Africa is internationally praised for having very few air show crashes, and it goes back to all that great planning that goes into the impact studies. And like you just now said, that you don't just fly blind, you do a lot of research before a show like this actually goes ahead.
To put a show on like this takes literally months of planning. There are so many rules and regulations that we happily have to abide by, and we actually do that. So it is extreme careful planning, from the selection of the pilots to make sure that they are the right pilots, the environment is correct, the ground safety, the people in. And here I must congratulate specifically the Air Force. They have put up such an excellent response team. The air side and land side was of the highest quality. And yes, big planning, a lot of planning to make to make sure, because aviation has got a good name and we want to build that name, and we really cannot tarnish it with, let's say, unnecessary accidents or incidents.
Thank you so much. Charlie Murray, he's an aviation safety specialist here. Of course, the air show was concluded on a big note, and one of the highlights, one of the favorites for most of the people who gathered here yesterday and even this morning is the Gripen that is part of the 2 squadron. And earlier in the week, I spoke to one of the pilots that actually masters the Gripen, and that was Major Scott Loggy. So let's go straight into that interview.
Oh, it's an amazing aircraft. It's one of only 5 fourth-generation fighters in the world, and it's really a privilege to fly this aircraft. You know, we really are on the cutting edge of technology, and to be a part of that and be a South African, I think is something to really be proud of.
But everybody wonders, what does a beast like this do? You know, a bird like this, what is it used for? What is its core function?
Well, our main role is to defend South Africa and the sovereignty of South Africa, but the Gripen has got 3 roles. It's got a reconnaissance role, an air-to-air role, and an air-to-ground role. The reconnaissance role is where we use our high-power cameras to photograph targets or things on the ground so that we can enable decision makers to make the right decisions, because they can obviously see now what's happening on the ground. You know, it's not always easy to make decisions when you don't know what's happening in any business. The other thing that we do is the air-to-ground role, where we have the bombs underneath the aircraft, and that would be to destroy an enemy target, to take out a building or a bridge or something of that nature. And the most important one, which is our main core business, is the air-to-air role, where we have to protect the air sovereignty of South Africa. So we defend South Africa against any incoming air threats. So that's where we have our gun and our missiles that we use to defend ourselves and also to protect our airspace. A typical use of this would be during the Soccer World Cup in 2010, where we were deployed operationally with armed aircraft for the first time in more than 20 years to defend the stadium, so that we could prevent something like the September 11 incident. So we were involved in the air policing role before, during and after the soccer games, which most of the public were not aware of, and we were there primarily as a deterrent to prevent anybody from being a threat to the crowd, which could happily enjoy watching Bafana play.
All right, of course, I want us to move a little bit back so that you can explain to our viewers what those weapons are, what do they get used for. Of course, I can see there's a missile there, and here are the bombs that you are talking about. Just elaborate a little bit more, if you can just come a little bit closer and tell us what exactly is each of the weapons that are attached to the Gripen.
Okay, certainly. Well, as you can see over here, this is our short-range infrared missile. It's the RST. We also have a South African-built missile, the A-Data, which is a very, very capable missile. It's got an eye in the front, and it actually is able to create an image of the target, so you can't hide from it. It's better than your eyes, I'm sure. So that'll be used in the air-to-air role. What we see underneath the aircraft over here is what we call Mark 82 bombs. They're 250 kg general-purpose bombs. So those would be used, like I said, to take out a building or a bridge. Very, very accurate. As I was explaining to you earlier, what makes the Gripen special is not only the performance of the aeroplane in terms of what we can see at the air show, and which I hope the crowd is really going to come and support us by coming to the air show, but it's not just the performance of the aircraft, but the brains behind it. Yeah. So there's more computers in this aircraft than there are in your iPhone by far.
And you did mention earlier, you know, it's much more advanced than the normal internet services that we use at home, our laptops, our phones, etc. It is actually a technology powerhouse as it stands here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the performance is really quite amazing on the aircraft in terms of what we experience as well physically in the aircraft, but the technology in terms of what the aircraft does for us to reduce the workload on the pilots. The aircraft is the whole time taking in inputs from what's actually happening in the battle sphere, if I can call it that, and it combines all that information to give you the very best decision-making potential, because you have a global perspective of what's happening at that specific moment. So really the technology, which is not what you see as the public, that's what really makes this aircraft really special and really a privilege to fly and be a part of. Yeah.
Now the speed. What are we talking about here? Of course, every time when I see it in the sky, it leaves me with so much goosebumps. At what speed does it travel?
We'll have to take you up and show you what speed it drives. A little bit faster than your BMW. We can go up to twice the speed of sound in the Gripen. So that's about 2,000 kilometers an hour, so slightly faster than a Lamborghini. Yeah.
Now, for the average person standing on the ground and hearing that sound in the sky, what does it sound like to you inside the Gripen? Do you get the same effect that we get on the ground?
Not at all. She's very, very comfortable inside, very quiet. It's like driving a BMW or an Audi or any modern day car. The Saab have really done an excellent job inside to reduce those things create fatigue for a pilot. So she's been designed to really be comfortable comfortable to fly, and she's very quiet inside. The thing that isn't comfortable is when we do really tight turns, which you probably saw the aircraft earlier on doing, we experience quite high G loadings, and G forces is what basically at the moment we're experiencing 1 G. It's what's keeping us on the ground while we're doing the interview. But in the air we can experience up to 9 times gravity. So everything weighs heavier. So your head weighs 9 times more, your arm weighs 9 times more. So that's why we have to be physically fit. And you know, we do need to do training every 4 years to be able to resist these G forces so we don't pass out in the air. Yeah.
Right. Of course, fitness. I don't think I could ever master this. Even if you had to take me for a spin, I'd probably pass out, if I may say. But in terms of these skills that pilots such as yourself has to have to be able to successfully, of course, drive this beast here. But not only just be behind it and master it, but if you had to go into a sensitive area, there's other skills that you need to have to make sure that you can actually operate the Gripen properly, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think you definitely could go fly, you know, in the aircraft. So definitely don't write yourself off there. Well, obviously physically you need to have good eyesight, good hearing. There's certain weights and lengths as well. So you'll see most of us that fly the Gripen, we all look pretty similar in terms of heights and physique. So you need to be fairly fit. In terms of, you know, the Air Force takes you from the time you leave school, they build you up all the way until you get to this level. So, you know, I think anybody can do it. The main thing is that you need to have passion to do it, because it is quite a long period of training to get to this level. But it's really exciting. And, you know, every day, I hope you don't broadcast this part, but I would actually almost work for free. My wife wouldn't appreciate that. But really, I'm doing what I enjoy. And so I'm really excited to come to work in the morning. And I think that was one of my key drivers at school, was that I wanted to do what I enjoy. So I'm doing my hobby, you know, as it were. I don't have to go home over the weekend and do my hobby. I'm doing what I enjoy. So, yeah, but please don't tell that to my boss. I do need a salary.
A natural love for speed and dangerous toys, I see. But let's talk about money. How much does a Gripen like this cost? And I'm sure it's not just the Gripen, it's the bombs, it's the missiles, and of course fueling the Gripen. It must be a lot of money. What are we talking about here?
Well, you know, I'm not in the position to actually know exactly how much they cost. Look, the Gripen is definitely a fairly expensive aircraft, but in terms of what it gives us, you know, like I was explaining to you earlier, with the 3 different roles that we're able to fulfill, we're able to use 1 aircraft where in the past we would have needed 3 aircraft. So in terms of what we get for bang for buck, if I could say that, it's really an economical aircraft in terms of a worldwide scheme. And it's really important that we have this capability, because it's a capability that if we had to lose it, it'll take 20 years to get it back. So I think it's vital to South Africa that we maintain this really prestigious capability. You know, our unit is more than 76 years old, and that skill set that we've learned from all the way from 1939 or 1940 until now, we've been building on every single year. And I think today, even as a unit, we're 2 Squadron as a unit that you can really be proud of, and the South African Air Force is an Air Force that we can really be proud of, because we've built and we've learned from lessons from the past to be the Air Force and the Squadron that we are today.
Now, at which point does it, become essential or necessary for the Gripen to be called out? What type of missions do you get involved in as, of course, or rather, which line of defense do we call in the Gripen and say, we now need your services?
Well, I think the best way to explain it is we're the stick. You know, when you're at school, when I was at school at least, the headmaster used to have a stick, and that was that warning that kept you in line, you know, that you didn't get up to any mischief. So we're basically the stick, and we get called upon for enforcement roles. Ideally, we never want to be deployed in to deliver weapons. You know, none of us are warmongers at all. But we're there as a deterrent, firstly, and then, if required, as called upon by Parliament to enforce. So we're there in a peace enforcement role, whether it be supporting troops that are deployed abroad, or you know, where we were called upon, like I said, during the Soccer World Cup, to act as a deterrent so that nobody tried to fly an aircraft or cause any threat to our people when they were supporting the football.
Right. What a great conversation there with Prowler. Of course, that's his call sign. The call sign for Major Scott Loggie. He is a Gripen pilot, and of course he told us what the Gripen is all about. Now you understand why everyone that always comes to the air show just loves the Gripen, and that majestic sound that comes with it just makes you immediately fall in love with it and just observe its beauty in the sky. Of course, it is back to you in the studio.
Well, more than